Hey, this is David Owen.
And this is Marian Cowigowen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, a podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and television that they loved before the first date. And this time, I was made to watch Miracle at Moreaux.
I think it's Moreaux. Yes.
No.
Yes. They only said it like one time in the film, but I think it's Moreaux. Yes, it is the 1985 kids movie that made me distrust Loretta Swit and people named Dominique for the rest of my life.
Why?
I will explain.
Okay.
But I was young. It imprinted on me in a not great way. Yeah, and a lot of you were probably saying, the what? I've never heard. Right. Well, were you a kid whose parents distrusted most commercial movies and television and pretty much limited their viewing to what was on PBS? If so, you might have seen this.
You probably saw this.
If not, you definitely didn't. This was a 1 hour, it's not even a movie at that point. It's like a special.
Yeah.
Originally it was Canadian. Was broadcast on PBS as part of the series called Wonderworks. And we were talking about this briefly last week. I was previewing this and I said it was like Hallmark Hall of Fame for kids because they took, I think most of them were adaptations of books. When Anne of Green Gables was on PBS, that was shown under the Wonderworks kind of banner.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of others, like I think they did a version of Girl of the Limberlost, which I've never read, but it's one of those like good books that your mother always says you should read. And I can't even remember now. There's a big long list. A bunch of which I would love to go back and find and watch again, but they're very difficult to find. But this one we found, so we watched this. And this is what I would call Christian savior porn, but for kids. Like it's an hour. It's kid length. It's, I would say, kid appropriate concepts. And it is very much like, the good Christian kids saved some Jews and did great things and saved the world. The end.
Yeah, I think it's like this is like a direct response to what were the Catholics doing during World War II? Like,
yes.
Well, they were doing what they could. Look here. Yes. Look at this.
The nun wasn't the same as the bad Pope. She did this.
Yeah, look.
Yeah. And speaking of, you said direct response, and I thought I knew where you're going. You've seen, I assume, Au revoir les enfants.
Oh God, what?
Is that a yes or a no?
I don't even know what you said.
Oh. You must have seen it. It's it's in French, but it's subtitled. It's Louis Malle. It's very similar. It's a French boarding school.
Why must I have seen that?
Because it's like a classic.
What?
And it's okay.
What are you?
Anyway, it's around the same time, and it was an adult film, and it's a French boarding school.
Like a porno?
Nah, shut up.
I'm sorry.
We've had this
adult
discussion.
Film.
That's true. I know. For grown-ups.
Okay.
Yeah,
because this is definitely there's a porno with that plot. French boarding school, like.
And kid saves a Jewish kid from the Nazis. There's a porn with that plot.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. Sidebar. Can we come up with another name to refer to material that is meant for grown-ups besides grown-ups? Because adult, as you just listened, has been ruined.
Are you saying you're taking back adult?
Maybe
I'm taking it back. Now.
It's been culturally appropriated.
I'm starting a movement.
I just need a word. I don't care what it is. But yeah, if you say adult film, adult material, adult book, adult, people go Anyway, Au revoir les enfants was for grown-ups, and it was essentially this plot. It's a French boarding school. The hero is, 10, 12, and is kind of an ass. And it comes that the school, I think he's a regular pupil. He's Jewish, and they eventually become friends. And then we're trying to save the kid from the Nazis. And I think we were not able to save that kid, actually. But it's the same kind of thing where when you don't know any Jewish people, you think they're all monsters. And when you get to know one, you say, "Oh, well, they're real people.
They're regular people,
Shocker!"
just like me.
And then you sympathize toward them.
Right, right.
And the movie was based on, I think, Louis Malle. Louis Malle is the director. You're the movie guy. I thought you would know all this. Okay. Anyway,
Marion, I don't go in for them foreign films.
Oh Lord,
this is not true.
Anyway, it was based on his childhood, I think. So, and it won like a bazillion Oscars, and it was about this time. I'm not saying it was a direct response, but it's very similar.
Sure.
Anyway, okay, that was a total failure. I thought you were going to understand what I was saying, and you got none of it. You just snickered about adult films.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, this is very similar. It's a French. It's kind of a boarding school, or it's like a regular school that has boarding students. They make it at some point. They say like, "Oh, there's local students, but they're all at home." And it's in southern France in 1943. Which, if you're a historian, you're like, "Oh, shit was bad." At that point, I think that was the part of France that technically was free. Like the government hadn't officially turned over to the Nazis, but the Nazis were there, and a lot of people were escaping France through the south over the mountains into Spain, and so there was a lot of Nazis watching everybody there. And there's a tracker, a helper, whatever, taking 3 kids through the woods, and he's going to take them over the mountains into Spain. Well, he stops at this school and is trying to steal food and is shot for his trouble. Again. Stealing do we do the death penalty for stealing now? Like, I guess if you're a Nazi, you do. Yeah, so, yes. We just hand wave that with, the Nazis are bad. And the nun who's in charge comes across the kids and one of the kids and brings them in, and then the other 2. And then it's clear, there's no discussion even, like, we need to save these kids from the Nazis. And the students agree, except for one who's the mean girl, and that's Dominique. And that's why I don't trust anyone named Dominique anymore. But she's won over by listening to the kids talk about Hanukkah and singing. And then the next day, they do this kind of decoy thing where they're all outside, but they're all wearing similar clothes. And they know that the Nazis are looking for the 3 kids. And so they send one group of 3 kids this way and one group of 3 kids that way. And the decoy group is like, "Oh, look at us. We are possibly Jewish. We are going to the woods.
Look at our chutzpah as we run."
Dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. That's how the song goes, right?
Here.
Yeah. And then the real Jewish kids go the other way, and they actually make it. And then the Nazis trace the decoy kids back to the school, and they have their Christmas pageant, and the little wonderkind kid who's like too smart for his own good. He's just the Nazi says to him, "Are there any Jews here?" And the kid goes, "Yes," and everyone panics. He goes,
Louis.
"She's a Jew," points to the girl playing the Virgin Mary. "He's a Jew," points to the kid playing Joseph. "And me, I'm a Jew," because he's playing Jesus. I'm like, and we all learned a lesson that day. Yeah. And the Nazi is like, "Oh, those meddling kids would have got away with it too." And then at the end, because we told the story of Hanukkah, there's a candle that has still been burning, and it's a miracle. And, and everyone was saved because kids learned something. The end.
And they became Jewish. Probably.
Yeah. Oh, and there's that was a very sweet moment though. So at one point, the nun gives the littlest Jewish girl, whose name is Anna, by the way, but everybody looks the same, so it's very hard to remember the characters' names.
Racist.
I know. I'm sorry.
They're all white with brownish hair.
Yeah. See, you come in and say things and you make me lose my... Anyway, she gives her a St. Christopher medal as like luck. Yeah. And at some point, then the Jewish boy, Daniel, he has a mezuzah that he carries with him, and he gives it to one of the... So it's sort of a little cultural exchange, which is very... That's how you know they're friends.
Yep.
By handing over little metal things that are, But, so anyway, as you can tell, I, as an adult, am rolling my eyes at this all over the place. But me at age 7, 8, whatever I was very moved by this, which I think is appropriate for that age.
It's very appropriate.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
You can't, like, there is a school of thought, I think, that is just like, hey, fuck them up. Just tell them, don't pull any punches. But then there's this school of thought, which is like, introduce them to these ideas, but you don't have to show the, because like the reality is those kids didn't make it.
Yeah.
100%. but they're the little shenanigans.
Yeah.
The at the end, the Nazi guy, when he was shown up by the little kid, just turned around and said, "Shoot them." And they just shot it, and then they just razed the monastery to the ground.
Yes. Well, and because earlier he saw, first of all, these kids on the run from the Nazis have suitcases. Like, that's unwise. But the suitcases are just sitting there in the hall.
Yeah.
So he's seen them, so he knows. And it's funny, they have 3 wise men in the play, and they're standing there like ready to do their thing, and they have suitcases at their feet because like, oh, we traveled from far. Like, okay, that was a nice try, but no, like this is, So the Nazi completely knows, and what it doesn't show you is in a month later, the Nazis have been like, stop all the food deliveries. I'm sorry, that Nazi was Russian. That was no.
And also, there's no Nazis are doing accents in this. Nobody's doing accents. No, the only time anyone does an accent is when they go Louis.
Yeah,
André.
One of the French kids has a very strong French accent.
There's like one kid and the one German guy who is like kind of British, like the quote unquote good Nazi. He's kind of like he's kind of like. He just has like a little detectable accent, but he's not like, Mein Führer. He's just like, he's like, I didn't find the children. Like, like barely has an accent.
Pardon me while I drink my stein of beer and chew on a bratwurst.
Wouldn't you like to go with me to the beer garden? Let's have a bratwurst.
Yeah, this is all very much broken down, very simple terms for kids.
And it's not even, like, from PBS, it's not even English people playing the Nazis like it usually is. It's usually like Kenneth Branagh, like, oh, I'm a Nazi, like. Yeah,
they're almost all Canadian. I mean, I don't think Loretta Swit is Canadian.
Like it's clearly a Canadian production. Like they all have North American, like, accent. I can't say North American, whatever you want to say. The Canadian American sort of neutral Midwestern accent.
Yeah. I looked up the main Nazi because his face looked familiar, and he's been in a ton of stuff.
Oh yeah, character actor face for sure. Most
of the kid actors don't have Wikipedia pages. I don't, or it's all local stuff, and I didn't recognize them. But in the formula version, her role is nice girl, Jeanette, the one with the short hair and the bang. She was in one of the sequels to Anne of Green Gables. So I saw her and I was like, for those who know, it's Emmeline Harris, the student at Anne's boarding school, is in this girl. So she made a career out of playing girls at boarding schools, apparently.
Nice. She got typecast.
Yes.
Damn you, Miracle at Moreaux.
All I do is girls at boarding schools, and so they all have to be period pieces. And
get me a girl who looks like she'd be at a boarding school. Like that one from Miracle at Moreaux. They don't say, I need a Marilyn Monroe type. They say I need a whatever this girl's name is type.
Oh right? My God, you've gone over the edge. What in the world?
Whatever.
Yeah. So, I think, so on the one hand, I think this is like, if you wanted to take, your sweet, innocent child who knew nothing about genocide and bigotry and discrimination and the things that were done to minorities of any type, and you wanted to introduce them to the idea, this would be an okay introduction. But it's got to be the first step of like 25 steps.
Yeah.
And that's what I worry about stuff like this, is that parents stop. They're like, oh, we showed our kid Miracle at Moreaux, so they know all about how the Nazis are bad. And if we're given a chance to hide 3 Jewish children, we should do it.
Yeah, like for sure.
That we're done, right? No, like you need to learn the full extent of stuff, and you need to learn that oftentimes the way to do the right thing is so much more difficult than this, or so much harder to figure out than this. And it's going to inconvenience you way more, and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, like, this is a good, not even 101. It's like 001.
Yeah.
But like we were saying with the Barbie movie and Feminism 101, you got to then move forward. And
it's an appropriate sort of first step. It's like, when your 6-year-old asks you where babies come from, you don't say the stork.
Yeah.
You say some version of the truth, which spares them the details that are not necessarily age appropriate. And then as they get older, like,
You
yeah,
don't, for example, give them an adult film that
right.
shows it in detail.
French, yeah,
Right.
a French adult film.
Right.
No, yeah, like, the follow up to this is, to continue to, like, so you start out with, hey, the Nazis were bad, and like the Jewish people weren't actually bad, and there was no reason to persecute them, and like you should like help people when they're in need,
And if it's a choice between helping the good people and the bad people, always help the good people.
Help the good people. And then you have to say, like, well, actually there were camps and there were chambers and there were, like, you have to, at a certain point, you have to show them, like, the rest of that Schindler's List, and you have to show them, what's the one?
Well, all the Anne Frank stuff. And then you also have to say, okay, so we defeated the Nazis, but there are still people who believe this stuff. And Jewish people are not the only people who get persecuted. And can you think of anybody in our time that gets persecuted like that? Like, you really, it's just, this is, we are mocking this movie, but this is, for what it is, this is a good, kid appropriate first step, but it is not the only step. By far.
It's very sanitized. There's one guy gets shot.
Yeah, and it's only from a distance. You see like a little dribble of blood down his lip, and that's it. I appreciate, though, that the nun later at dinner is discussing it with the kids, and she's like, we saw something terrible, and it shouldn't have happened, and, which is probably, I imagine, for kids at that time in the middle of a war zone, like, that was a lot.
Sure, especially like those kids that have been obviously protected from a lot of that.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, the other side, like, addressing it to that extent was probably a lot.
Sure,
I would imagine there was a lot of nothing to see, move on, move along. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there were a lot of people, and I think that's a story you have to tell too. For every Catholic nun who did the right thing, there were way more people who just wanted to preserve themselves and their families. And on some level, you can't blame them for that. Like, there is an arithmetic that you kind of get into with the doing this, like, how much can you do without becoming, and getting yourself in the crosshairs.
There's a cost benefit analysis sometimes. You're like, I can help this one person and I will immediately get shot, or I can keep, not doing anything, but I'm providing for my own family and they keep going, and it's it's rough. Yeah. I mean, you see, like I brought up Schindler's List, like, the whole idea of, like, him going completely bankrupt, doing all that, and, like, but it was, he was doing the right thing for the right reasons. Like, it's not always easy. I'll be the first to say it would be a tough decision were I cast into 1943 France. To make to harbor or to aid, because like, it puts you at a huge risk, which I think is an important thing to realize about yourself, because so often in these movies there's always the main character that we see in whatever movie we're watching is always good. They always make the dangerous choice to do the right thing. Even, I have it written down in my notes as main Nazi and good Nazi. The one who is like, he's sort of a low level guy. He's just stationed here and he sees the kids in the woods at the end and is like, oh, I definitely don't see any children. If I did, I would tell them that they should go toward the river this way, like, and then comes back and is like, I didn't see them. I'm sorry. I don't know. Like, and so we all think, I would do the right thing. I would absolutely, no, sometimes it is just an automatic decision. You don't even realize that you're doing it. Like in this movie, the youngest of the Jewish kids, Anna, runs out of the woods toward the dead guy. And without even thinking very much about it, the Sister Gabriel picks her up and says, oh my goodness, you've been playing in the woods. Let's go get you cleaned up, acting like she's one of the, and like that seemed automatic. Sometimes you just doing the right thing does not take any thought at all. And sometimes it takes a lot more thought. And I think it almost belittles the people who made big sacrifices to say, oh, of course I would do the right thing. Like, it's way more dangerous than you realize. And let's give more credit to the people who did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, I like to think I would do the right thing, put myself in danger for other people, but there is always a corollary of, oh, today that would mean you would do da 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 da, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And am I doing that? No.
Yeah, no, we have had some version of this discussion, and I've had it with other people of like, yeah, when different things happen and actions being taken, protests or whatever. Yeah, I think like if I really had the strength of my convictions or whatever, I would be out there.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think like, well, what does that entail? What's the cascading effect of that? Yeah, and in the end, I come down on the side of, I can't afford to do that, and that feels shitty,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes me feel shitty. But like at the end of the day, that's just there's got to be some arithmetic there. You can't take in every stray dog.
No.
And it sucks to turn any away, but you just can't. You can't root for every cause that's justifiably good.
Yeah. Well, I think then too, if you know that about yourself, that you are not going to be able to make the math work out to do this, sort of bold and brave and dangerous good thing, then you have to think about, okay, what can I do instead?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Can I, financial donations,
Yeah.
all the administrative stuff. Like there's other things you can do instead.
Yeah, or one of the most powerful things you can do is just you change your social media avatar to the flag.
That's true.
Of Ukraine or wherever. Like that's just honestly. I mean, that's like
really kind of the most
being right there, like boots on the ground, like the guys, the ex-military guys who volunteered and went to Ukraine. And actually like worked with their military, and then right below that is changing your social media avatar.
That's true. There's somebody in our neighborhood who has a little those garden flags, the little ones, is the Ukrainian flag, and every time I walk by, I think, oh, so brave.
Yeah,
so brave.
Yeah, there's another person that has like a full size Ukrainian flag,
like
not in our
even
neighborhood,
more brave.
In the neighborhood that we transit to get out of our neighborhood the easy way.
Well, this is a story making fun of myself. This is a while ago because I was answering the phone, and now I don't answer the phone ever. But somebody called me from some group that I ideologically support, and I was on their mailing list, and he was asking for money, and I was like, I'm sorry, it's not in the budget right now. And I wanted to convey that, like, I support the cause. It's just not in the budget right now to do it financially. So I said, oh, but I get your emails and I follow you on Facebook, so like I'm keeping up with the cause, and he was like, oh, you follow us on Facebook. And like, and I don't know if he,
hang on, let me make an announcement to the office.
Right, exactly. I don't know if he meant it to be sarcastic, but that's how I took it. And I was like, oh, sorry. It's literally the least I could do.
Yes.
They didn't put me on the cover of their supporter magazine for following them on
no, it was only they gave you a blurb.
Right.
Yeah.
It's only a quarter of a page.
Suburban ladies joined our Facebook group.
Yeah. Note, she also is in a group for women who are learning how to put on makeup for the first time. Right. So, this is the level of quality that we are at. Sometimes what feels like I do what I can is like literally the least you could be doing, but it is better than nothing.
Yes.
So
clearly. Can I just say, like we talked in the beginning about how this movie is kind of feels like Catholic reputation rehab.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, like they're like, hey, we're doing stuff. Like, hey, look, there's good Catholics here. Look at this, and they like the Jewish people, and they let them sing their songs. We were talking about the good Nazi. There's also a weird kind of Nazi rehab in this that, like, hey, they weren't all bad. Look at this guy. He let the kids go. Like, no, like you don't need to. I don't need a good Nazi in your movie. Just let him just get away clean. I don't need this knowing wink of like, they weren't all bad, right? So no, just like they were all bad. Like make them as bad as possible. Like caricature them to the highest degree. And just don't have that encounter. Like,
I mean, I think in reality, there probably were a lot of, like they were in the German military, and so they were just sent wherever, and
people were conscripted. Like,
I
get it.
But like at the same time,
I don't need that in your if you're trying to tell me about the plight of the Jewish people, just pretend that all of the Nazis were as bad as that. I don't need the nuance of your
of all the groups that I feel sympathy for about getting a bad rap, the Nazis are way down on the list.
Like, this isn't the film for that.
Right.
You can do a whole nother movie about, Tom Cruise. What was that movie he did?
Oh,
where he was in the inside, and like, great. Cool.
Oh my gosh, what was it called? It was
whatever.
Blitzkrieg something.
I don't know.
But
anyway. There were people high up in the Nazi organization that tried to kill Hitler. Great, cool. That's a movie to itself. These guys that are chasing after children, just they're the baddest Nazis you can get.
Well, they do make a point to say, the children are meeting someone in the resistance, and then also like,
still.
yes, there are the first step is children.
Like,
so
I want a scene of like the main bad guy Nazi, because they keep cutting to him back in like the town, and he's in his like Fortress of Solitude. He's like in his little bunker of command. I want like one of those scenes to cut to him, and there to be he's kneeling over a sink with a mewing bag that he's submerging in water. Make them as bad as possible. I want you to show him drowning kittens.
Oh no, I don't want to see that at all.
Just so that we can, like, I don't need there to be one good one.
Yeah.
They're all bad.
They're all bad. Just by virtue of being in the Nazi. Yeah.
I don't need a good slave master in your Civil War movie, in your period piece.
If you want to show how good you are, guess what? Well, we're talking about making the hard decision and doing the right thing. Guess what? There's the right thing that a Nazi can do too, which is be not a Nazi.
Right.
Well, at some point they show main Nazi eating dinner, and good Nazi, who has not revealed himself to be good Nazi yet, but he's sitting across the room just like kind of taking notes about like what to do, whatever, just waiting and watching him eat. And I was thinking, I don't know if it's just like period pieces, or does it happen specifically with the bad guys? Whenever they eat, there's so much grease involved.
Oh yeah.
And I think he was drinking wine, and there's something about the shape of the wine glass that always shows up here. It's very slurpy.
Yeah.
And it's just, the mouth sounds are just so disgusting. It's like a greasy pork chop, and there's just grease all over everything.
Yeah, chicken. Like, it's perfect. Like, it's a great visual device for film to have someone in what is effectively some part of a war zone eating a nice meal, and he's just,
and everyone else has
taking
to watch.
it for granted.
Yeah.
And he's just, slopping up, and his face is all greasy from the chicken or whatever, it's great language of filmmaking type stuff. Like, you want your guy to look like an asshole even to his own men. Like, he's eating a nice roasted, quail or something right in front of this guy, just picking it apart.
Yeah. And and he can afford to get rid of the gristly pieces, because there's so much. Yeah.
But it would only be better if the good Nazi looked on like, maybe he's going to give me that scrap, and he threw it to a dog.
Yeah.
That's just on the floor. That's the only way it could get better.
Yeah. The good Nazi, by the way, looks very similar to John Carroll Lynch, Drew Carey's brother.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and he often plays like evil clowns and things like that. I don't know why that's how he got typecast, but so that's in my memory now.
Because he looks like John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
So that's why
it.
he. Yeah.
That's it. So in my memory, that's who is playing him. And good Nazi is not even comic relief or like anything.
Yeah,
He's just
that would have been something to have, like a comic relief in this movie, like
it's for kids,
like Jerry Lewis's sad clown movie that will exists but will never be shown to anyone, like that. Like, what was the movie that was it Roberto Benigni?
Oh yeah,
did that was basically like a similar concept.
Yes, well, and that was like for the kid. Humor alive.
Keep it going. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, there's like a couple of little jokes here and there in this movie, like two maybe. But yeah, like there's no we need a comic relief character.
Yeah. Speaking, not really, different subject. Yeah, I was very, I took away from this that I could not like Loretta Swit.
Why?
I'm not really sure. Well, yeah. So first of all, so she's a nun, so I should have been like, oh,
naturally
wonderful. Although I didn't grow up with nuns like this. Like she's in full habit. I mean, it's the 40s, so of course she
Yeah.
was. We didn't have nuns like that.
Yeah.
We didn't have many nuns at all.
Mm.
And they were, modernized nuns. And so they would wear street clothes, like, I mean, dowdy street clothes, but, same stuff as my mom wore.
Yeah.
And sometimes veils.
Mm.
But that was it. Very few of them had on the full habit. But anyway, well, so the first thing wrong with Loretta Swit is that she spells her name wrong. So
Okay.
my mother's name was Loretto, Loretto,
Yeah.
which is a very rare name. And Loretta is Loretta. Well, a lot of people, they see my mother's name and they say, "Oh, your name is Loretta." She's, "No, it's Loretto with an O at the end." And I have this experience too. You spell it and they think, "Oh, she spelled her own name wrong." And they would write her name down, Loretta. Like, did I stutter?
Right.
I say, so I absorbed this frustration as well. And my revenge is that I dislike anyone with the name Loretta, Loretta, because it's her fault, really.
Yes, clearly.
And then the part where the main mean girl she's the eldest at the school. Her name is Dominique, and she's the one who says, Jewish people steal Christian babies and they kill them and take their blood and they drink it with their wine, which of all the things for a Catholic to believe about Jewish people, drinking blood is like...
Right, that is so weird.
It's
so weird they drink blood.
Yeah, like that should be the last thing that you're getting weird about. But anyway, and so at one point, Sister Gabriel is yelling at Dominique and is like, "You are the eldest. The kids look up to you. You can't say this kind of stuff because they'll believe it." And, she says, something along the lines of like, "I'm the only one who's telling the truth, blah, 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 blah." And Loretta Swit slaps her.
Yeah.
Not very hard. I can see now.
Yeah.
But when I was 7 or 8, I was like, "Oh, she's so mean." And the girl runs away in tears, which also like from not a very hard slap. So yeah, what I took away is nuns who slap children are bad. And I've never quite forgiven this actress.
But why is that? Like, it's an appropriate slap.
Yes, but
okay.
Well, also
you were young.
Yes. Also, the few episodes that I saw of MASH, she was always kind of a shrew.
Hot Lips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't get like the sex jokes at the time, which I shouldn't have, and so I was just like, she's really just kind of mean, and.
But like, actually, Hot Lips is great in MASH because she gives it right back.
Well, yes, now I know that, and like as a woman with authority in a war zone in the 50s, like, I should revere her. But
surrounded by a bunch of jokers, and
yes.
can also dish it out.
Yes. So,
yeah.
But at the time, I just was like, she's mean.
Mean.
So I probably need to go on like a Loretta Swit redemption media arc. But what else has she been in? I don't know.
I looked it up. I mean, I'm sure she's been in some television shows. She was in a version of that Christmas play that we went to.
Oh, The Best Christmas Pageant ever?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she's in, I think, a movie version of that.
Huh.
I closed out the window. But yeah. So she's done a few things. But I mean, number one is just watch MASH. Like, just everybody should watch MASH.
Yeah. I've never seen the movie that the show's based on.
Very
either,
different.
So I really should watch that. But
I mean, the same but different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that MASH is that phenomenon. Like, the MASH movie is great, but the show just did so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there are many examples of movies becoming television shows, and it
goes well.
And it goes well. League of Their Own.
Yeah.
Twice.
That was
right?
I did watch some of the episodes of that. I enjoyed it, but it's been canceled after one season.
Sure. Yeah, but I'm saying, like, rarely does that go well, and for that one to have been one of the longest running,
it eclipsed
and
the
most loved
movie.
television shows eclipsed the movie. So a rarity in that case, but also just if you want to get an idea of like gallows humor or black humor or dark humor, like that is that movie and series are designed for that. Like, these guys every day have their hands in these wounded, dying soldiers, and it's a comedy show about that. Like, that is dark humor 101.
Yeah. Well, and media about the Korean War is pretty rare.
Yeah, it really is.
We've got a ton of World War II movies where everyone's heroes except for the Nazis.
Yep.
And we've got a ton of Vietnam movies where no one's a hero.
Right.
And there's been a couple of things about the various Iraq wars, which are kind of more and more complex. And we've got Civil War movies and Revolutionary War movies, but not.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
No.
And most people, especially younger than us, who are even aware of MASH, if you ask them, they would say it's about Vietnam.
Yeah, I always have to remind myself, honestly.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it's tough. It came out around that time.
Yeah.
You know, so it just seemed like they
well, were, and it's, you think, it's hot and there's Asian people,
right?
Like, which is terrible. And I'm sorry, that's a terrible thing for me to say, but it's just how my brain, does the shortcuts sometimes. But
yeah, I mean, they do explicitly talk about it during the course of the show, but yeah, as just a casual observer of it, you're just like, that's that show about Vietnam, with Alan Alda in it, right?
Well, and Vietnam lasted longer, and for the sort of dark humor thing, we have more of that attitude about Vietnam than about Korea, because we just don't talk about Korea very much. Just sort of emotionally, if you want to slot it into where it goes, that makes sense. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about Loretta Swit.
World War II happened.
I do need to do a Loretta Swit redemption tour.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. Not a Nazi redemption tour, though.
No,
we're not doing that.
That's fine.
Maybe a redemption tour for the name Dominique. I don't know many Dominiques.
There's I think there's a movie. There's a character in a movie. Yeah. I'll do it. We'll work something up for you.
It's not an adult film, is it?
I bet. Wow. I bet we could do that. Yeah.
No, thank you for those.
Yeah, we could get there.
Sorry
about your ears, folks.
Anyway, yeah. So this is it's only an hour, so there's much less to say about it, and it's honestly so formulaic that this, which again I think is not inappropriate for this age group.
No.
But
we sound like a broken record, but no, like this movie is right on track for the intended audience.
Yeah. But yeah, so is it worth parents today showing this to their kids? I don't even.
I mean, sure. Like,
I think if you treat it as very much, it's a 101.
Yeah, and you like 7-8-year-old kind of thing. Like, much past that, it's gonna bog down.
It's kind of pablum after a while.
And especially like they can sort of see themselves in the younger characters, the two younger girls, especially, that are running. Yeah. I mean, it does what it does. It's just like any after school special kind of adjacent project, Yeah, it's not going to break any ground. But it might be the first, like we talked about with Barbie. It might just be the first thing that starts the gears turning.
Yeah, I think I mean, if you think of, how we teach children to eat, the first things that they often eat are, vegetable purees. You can't live forever on vegetable purees. No one especially likes them. Yeah. But that's how you learn what food tastes like, and then you move on to things. So this is the baby food of of movies. Yeah. So yeah, and if you were around this time, it's worth watching there. It's the filmography is like, whoo, we have improved since then.
The filmography of what?
The film quality.
Film quality.
I don't know what filmography is. That word just came up, but
that's like the films of that someone has done.
Okay.
It's clearly a VHS transfer. Like, one of the things about a lot of these around the time this was made in the 80s, video, and it maybe not VHS, it might have been beta, who knows? Like, usually beta was used for masters. Welcome to my talk about how different types of videotapes and how Betamax was the superior videotape. Yes. Like a lot of stuff just wasn't considered budgetarily high enough priority or wasn't going to get made if you had to pay for film, because people don't realize this today, but like when you shot a movie on film, you had to develop that shit like camera film. Yeah. Like there was a process. It had to be submerged and emollient made blah, blah, blah chemicals. And like that stuff was expensive. Yeah. And it mattered how you did it. And you got different types of film had to be developed in different ways. And like just the video, democratize isn't really the right word, but it brought filmmaking down to the common people. This is when you start to get this explosion of films, including adult films, that were taking advantage of this super cheap technology. But the inherent problem with it, unlike film, is that it's a very lossy technology. It doesn't age well. And you get this. I don't know if this was taken from the quote unquote master which would be like the highest quality version that exists. But yeah, like this was clearly a video transfer. Like this was not shot on film. And that's, like I said, a lot of projects like this only got made because they could be shot on video instead of being shot on film. And it shows 100% in sound quality, video quality. And there is a dark time in the 80s especially. And then it's slowly in the 90s, things started to improve. But there is a dark time where a lot of our media, especially low budget stuff, was being recorded on videotape, and it is not surviving well. And that's, people trash talk AI for good reason. But one of the things that AI can really do well is remove that grain. Like there was recently an AI upscaling of aliens, and it's got some noticeable issues, but by and large, it did a great job of smoothing things out and dealing with the film grain. And sometimes you want film grain, sometimes you don't. You never want VHS artifacts unless you're making like Skinamarink and you want that's your aesthetic, like this old analog video aesthetic. You never want VHS artifacts. So yeah, like there is some promising stuff, but for the most part, a lot of this media from that time is shot on film and it's not been preserved. And this shows shows the sort of stretch marks of the filmmaking industry that were happening in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, and yes, that's what you should be doing with AI is do the scut work.
Yes. Yeah, AI is great at, you tell it, you teach it what a human face looks like, you teach it what film grain looks like, and then you give it reels of movies, and you say, upscale this and clean it up. Yeah, it can do stuff like that. Like you don't want it making your art, but it can restore your art. It can clean up your art, and this is a whole discussion.
Yes.
I'm not advocating for or against. I think even with the Aliens upscale thing. The 4K, like I have issues with it, with aspects of it, but and other people do too. There are people that hate it. There are people that love it, but it's a reality. It's here. A lot of companies are going to be doing it. And it's only going to get better. And that's the thing. Like some of the stuff that was used before that, some of the computer technology just made stuff look smooth and weird. And, we've really sort of crossed over and they're kind of figuring it out. And something like this, yeah, like this could potentially be restored. The question then becomes like, doing that costs some amount of money. Is anybody yammering for a Miracle at Moreaux re-release? Probably not.
Just like the Nazis are low on my list for a rehab. Like,
right.
There are other things higher on this list, but it is worth seeing if you have not. Anyway, folks, we would love to know what you think about this. So many things we could ask you. I don't even. Yeah. Did you believe that about blood and what? Don't believe that.
No, don't. If your parents told you that, don't
believe that. That's
Put them in the bad home.
Right.
When they get older.
Put them in the home run by Nazis and not the good ones. Anyway, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us in a couple different ways. You can send us an email or you can find us on Facebook. Our handle is the same for both. It's YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours. We're at gmail.com or DM us on Facebook. Also on Facebook, we post links to all of our episodes. We have new episodes every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, no matter when you're listening, there'll be a new episode there. Next time, Dave will be hosting and showing something to me. What are we watching next time, Dave?
So this has come up, I think, in recent episodes. So I figured it was time to just go ahead and show it. Not The Replacement Killers. I just feel like we're too close to John Wick to do another gun-based movie.
Okay.
We'll get The Replacement Killers down the road. But it's the greatest litmus test for media literacy in the history of film, Starship Troopers.
Oh, yes, you did mention that. Okay.
Yes. So we're going to see if you figure out who the good guys and bad guys are in Starship Troopers.
I'm a little afraid that I will fail the test.
I hope that you won't. I'll have the divorce papers drawn up.
I was going to say, like, this feels like.
But you're going to see young Neil Patrick Harris. You got Casper Van Dien is in this.
Oh, wow.
A young Denise Richards in one of her first roles, one of her earliest roles.
Wow. So this is a 90s 90s cavalcade.
Oh yeah. It's
Oh
good stuff.
boy. Okay. All right.
But which one is it? It's not Powers Booth. Michael Ironsides is in this.
Oh yeah, they are kind
of in my head.
Two sides of the same coin. Yeah. All right. Well, we will see you next time with Starship Troopers, and stay tuned to see if our marriage makes it through, if I pass the test. In the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io. All right, are you ready?
No, I was, but you missed it.
Damn it.
You missed the window.
Right. Thanks anyway. Bye.
Okay, we're done.